Hello, my name's Amanda. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk about living out of a suitcase since about 5 years ago, what that's like, what's in my suitcase. I'll show you what's in there, and just the process of minimalism in general. And this video applies to anybody because it doesn't mean we all have to live out of a suitcase. It's really about the process of freedom and detachment. So after my near-death experience in 2017, I got a lot of motivation and momentum to start downsizing. I had a 3-bedroom house that I moved most of my things out of, sold them or gave them away, put a few things in storage. And in 2019, so 2 years later, I traveled to Bali for a 1 month trip, and I met a guy in the surf hostel where I was staying. And this guy lived out of his backpack. He had a big traveler's backpack. He was probably the most laid back, serene guy in the whole hostel. He was well dressed, healthy, did not look like he lived out of a bag, and I was really intrigued about his lifestyle. So he told me that he had been living out of his backpack for years. He had a box of keepsakes at his dad's house, and he had never been happier. He said he would never go back to living a life where he had tons and tons of stuff, and that everything that he needed was inside his bag. And based on his disposition and his, I don't know, balance, laid backness, I really tended to believe him. He seemed to know what he was talking about in this area. So when I went back to Canada, I felt extremely motivated to give this a try, and I sold and gave away what was remaining in my storage locker. I remember putting like a post up online in the local buy and sell with some description of what I still had. People could come and take it for free, and it was amazing. It was really lovely to see people coming to get things that maybe they needed or wanted, or either way, it was going to be better for them to have them at this point than me. So that experience of downsizing, giving away, selling, you know, all that kind of thing gives a person a lot of energy. It doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that it makes sense to the people around them, but it means that you are potentially creating a lot of space in your life for other things that might not make themselves known to you until you start the process. I definitely didn't know what was coming my way. I didn't know what life would be like without like a house full of stuff and a garage, like a shed full of stuff. And I was going to find out. So I got myself down to 2 big suitcases, and I went to Mexico. And I found out right away that dragging around 2 massive suitcases in Mexico plus a laptop bag was really heavy, really annoying, and I very quickly decided that one of those suitcases that was mostly filled with clothes and shoes that I hadn't really had a chance to wear needed to be given away. And as soon as I kind of dumped that one suitcase and all the clothes, I felt a lot better. I felt a lot lighter. And so even to this day, I have a carry-on bag and a couple small bags, and I'm happy with that. It didn't happen overnight. Like this whole process of downsizing my house to the storage locker and then down to these suitcases, down to one suitcase, kind of happened slowly over a couple of years. And I did not have like this, the way things are now, like in the plans. That's not what I had planned. But the universe had other plans, I guess. What I have found is having less material stuff to worry about getting lost, fixing, cleaning, upkeep. It has created a space of so much less stress. I'm never wondering where anything is. It's really easy to clean up after myself. The things that I have now are actually very useful. There's nothing in my bag that I don't have like a lot of gratitude for and make use of regularly. And when we are able to, I believe, when we're able to minimalize to the degree that is more in line with who we're becoming and what is like actually useful and being a good steward of what we have, we're more in line with nature. Nature doesn't sit around and wonder what will happen if they don't have enough of this, that, the other, how they will part with this physical item. Nature just like moves through life, as long as the system is balanced, moves through life and things are provided as they go. And I believe that we can become more like that in the way that really is uniquely individual to each of us. And I really believe that the process of minimalism goes beyond physical belongings. Like, I don't think that everyone needs to be living out of a bag. It's not most people's path. But where we feel heavy, the more sensitive we become, the more self-development and self-inquiry we agree to, we are going to be a little bit more sensitive and be able to sense what's working, what's heavy, what's light, and drop the things that are heavy as we go. And what was heavy for me 10 years ago was different than what was heavy for me 5 years ago. It's going to change as we change. No point comparing ourselves to anybody else, but we can be inspired by other people. So I was definitely inspired by this guy in Bali. Just as he was telling me the story of his lifestyle change, it lit me up. When somebody's story lights you up, it's best to try and go with it in your own personal version. And in the process of minimalizing our physical belongings, being less wasteful, and just kind of like keeping what we actually use, it kind of has the potential to start this process where you can notice other areas of your life, you can sense into areas of your life that also could get minimalized but might not have a tangible material thing to it, like relationships with people where maybe it was a good fit a few years ago, but it's become really one-sided and unsustainable for some reason. Those are relationships that maybe have run their course. Maybe it's time to take space. Maybe you pick them up again in 20 years down the road, but being able to sense what's heavy as far as your connections with other people and honoring your own energy within that without blaming anyone. That was a big one for me, in kind of like in parallel to downsizing material stuff, as well as how I was spending my time, how much screen time I was using, how many social commitments I was saying yes to that I wasn't really enthusiastic about. Noticing all of these energy leaks that had been a big part of my life for so long, and just being really honest with myself and thinking, okay, if I make some shifts in these areas with how I spend my time, what could open up? What kind of space could open up? I don't need to fill it right away, but we can open so much potential for opportunities and blessings and surprises that just come our way when we kind of withdraw focus from things that are just kind of like energy suckers. Like, is this really going to matter in 5 years? Do I want to be doing this in 5 years? Do I want to be hanging out with this person in 5 years? Do I want this thing sitting in my house in 5 years? And if the answer is no, you kind of, where to put a bit of energy into like your own personal minimalization. It's been great traveling and knowing that needs are always met. When you go to a hotel or an Airbnb, they have towels, they have sheets, they have soap, like you're taken care of. And if you run out of something, there's going to be a corner store with some toothpaste guaranteed, even in the developing world. So realizing that you can actually be very happy, in my case happier, with less stuff to worry about, knowing that that's an option. And most people who minimalize, they enjoy the freedom and the space that they have so much that they don't go backwards. It can be almost addictive, seeing, okay, like how minimal can I get but still feel comfortable, and that the answer to that's going to be different for absolutely everybody. But it's definitely worth trying out and seeing like what is your edge, what is your balance. I found that like attracts like. So traveling quite a bit in the last 5 years, you end up meeting other minimalist people just because of the law of attraction. You run into the same types of people who have found the same blessings from a minimalist lifestyle, whose focus is not shopping and accumulating material items, but whose focus is experiences and conversations. And this is really freeing because you do end up finding the others as you go. They come and go, but there are so many other people who have embraced this and who can, tell their own stories and teach about it, and we can learn from each other. So there are others that are kind of like lurking that will find you by the way of the law of attraction, the more minimal you get in every area,
So I have my carry-on suitcase, 2 musical instruments, and my laptop case for work. And everything I own fits in there. So basically clothes, books, toiletries, all my favorite herbal teas, and little tinctures and essential oils and perfumes and stuff. And that is everything.
Yeah, so those are some of my things. Those are all of my things, really. Books were a really big thing for me when I lived in my house. I had a lot of books and I loved my books and I never wanted to give them up. And then they all went at once. And only one time did I think, oh, I really wish I had that book. I missed that book. I want to read this certain chapter again. Well, I just ordered another one. I ordered one to have delivered to where I was staying. So, if you miss something really that bad, usually you can replace it somehow. And when it comes to minimalism and like, think, okay, I want to take a step towards that. Like, where do I start? What do I do? The easiest things first, like obviously clothes that don't even fit you anymore, books that you're not going to read again, things that are obviously garbage, things that you haven't used in a really long time. Those are usually the easiest first things to go. And then just really feeling that space, how nice it is to relocate things to places and people that are a better fit for them. And then kind of going from there at your own pace. Sometimes we don't really know, we kind of feel stuck and we don't really know how to get more energy and more momentum into our life. And it's like, okay, where do I start? I want some change. Sometimes the answer is in what we're afraid of the most. Sometimes the answer is in like, what is our edge? We're all of us are at a crossroads at any point in time where taking a risk, big risk or small risk, and doing or saying something that we are frightened of saying or that we're procrastinating can really get the ball rolling. And this kind of relates to minimalism because sometimes we need that extra boost somehow. I know I've heard from people lately who are in the process of or have quit their job because the job that they've had is no longer making them feel like they're on purpose or complete, and they realize the time has come. And letting go of a job or a big commitment that you've been part of for a long time that's kind of giving you identity or income or whatever, that's a big way of minimalizing. And for people who are doing that, that is scary. Like, that is your edge. So congratulations if you've done that or if you're in that process. There can be, like, from my experience doing that, there can be like periods of unknown. Like maybe you have a bit of savings and you're not sure when the next job's coming or what you're going to do when those savings run out. These kind of questions are really normal. And no, you're not crazy. You're just following your heart. You're following your inner guidance. And I have found that the benevolence of the universe is really with you when you follow your heart, when you start to give up things that are no longer useful, because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in real time with nature, with the universe, with what's going on. Instead of like hoarding and attaching to things from the past, you're letting go of them and being in the present and saying, okay, that was working for me before, but now it is no longer. It just feels complete. So I am going to honor being in time, the way that animals are, the way that plants are, and doing what feels right in this moment that's going to be best for the future that I'm creating, even if it doesn't make sense to other people, even if I don't even know how to explain this to other people, even if I'm frightened because it's more comfortable to stay in comfort than to be in the unknown. But we all know when we're getting the call to minimalize something, to let something go, to announce that something is complete. And even if we can't completely let go and we're not 100% ready to like close the door on something, there's usually something that we can do to get the ball rolling. And when you start to maybe have a conversation with other people about something that you're going to let go, make a phone call, have somebody come pick something up, just kind of start the process, maybe even write in your calendar, on this day I'm going to take 3 boxes to the used recycle place in town. When we start these things, it can be scary or uncomfortable or overwhelming, but it does seem like if your heart is really in it, the universe does bring you the energy and the momentum to see it through. Even if when you first get the idea, it is overwhelming and scary, to like sit with it and just make some kind of move towards it and just wait and wait. Because the mind and the personality and the ego can be really, really resistant to letting go. It can be really resistant to minimalizing and making change. And sometimes we have such a burst of energy and we just go for it and we do it. But more often, it's kind of like a little inkling, a little whisper in your heart that you know that that's kind of like where you want to be headed, but you don't have that huge momentum. So that's when taking really small steps and then just letting it go, taking another small step, then letting it go and waiting. And then we're kind of like easing the parts of us, like the body and the ego, we're easing that part of us along. Sometimes we have to kind of feed into it and allow it to wait, and make a bit of a negotiation with the mind and the ego in order to keep going. But as long as you're putting a little bit into it at any given time, the forces of evolution, the forces of the universe are going to meet you, and opportunities are going to come to help you and encourage you along. Even watching videos like this about minimalism, hearing and feeling the energy from other people who have committed themselves to doing it, and the pros that they share about it, we can pick up on other people's momentum and energy, especially when we are afraid of what's going to happen. My experience with quitting a job and kind of minimalizing in that way to try and open up to what was next for me, even when it didn't make total sense, that did turn out to be the right decision and more. But I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, and it was frightening. And I'm so glad I did it. Like when you look back at these big changes, when you minimalize things, it's always like, yeah, of course, that was such a great decision. Like, I don't know where I'd be without doing that. But when you're in it, it feels pretty dicey. It feels pretty dicey. So have great patience with yourself. Reach out for support and just make little moves. Make little moves so that it's not too overwhelming and you just give up. Yeah, but the fruit of it, the payback, the blessings that end up coming in after that period of unknown and that period of feeling like it's a tight squeeze and it's really scary, the blessings that come in later are usually so surprising and such great opportunities that like you couldn't have imagined them if you wanted to. You couldn't have dreamed them up in your wildest dreams. Even the people, letting go of people where you're no longer like in alignment, just kind of like shifting out of those connections. Even if there's a period of time where it's very solitary, eventually, if you can sit with the solitary nature of those in-between times, the types of people that find you or you find them, you find each other, they're just so much more in line with being in time, being a match to your energy right here, right now. Sometimes when we're changing very fast, when we really feel that call, that inner call of evolution and change inside of us, people who are in our life, we got connected with them when we were in a different energy a long time ago, and we're not the same people as we were 10 years ago. So as you're changing, as your energy field is changing, you end up having sometimes less to talk about with certain people. Your values are not a match anymore, and it just makes sense that certain people are minimalized out of your life. It's no blame and it's no hard feelings. It's just we want to be around people who are inspiring us and who are kind of like on the same, a similar inspirational level. So just learning how to, in the process of minimalism, there's an ongoing letting go. It's not like one time we downsize and that's it. No, like there's like constantly a shedding, like in nature when the snake sheds its skin on a regular basis. Minimalism is not a one-time thing. It's a process for the rest of our lives that we know is life-giving and we know is going to yield amazing results. The more we do it over and over, we see, okay, results always come. Like at this point, I never wonder. I'm never wondering if it's going to turn out okay. Like I know it's going to turn out okay. I just don't know what that's going to look like and how uncomfortable it's going to be in between. But there's no doubt in my mind anymore. The more we do it, the more we face these little fears and the unknown, it does actually get easier. It's still like scary, but there's also the part of us that knows the past, that knows the history of how it has always worked out. So we can kind of bear with the unknown and the fright and the tight squeezes so much better because we know eventually something better is coming. And that's faith. There's always going to be that little bit of, or big bit of unknown and fright when we are letting go of our attachments and doing things that frighten us. So yeah, minimalism has, living out of a suitcase, traveling, it's only brought goodness to my life. It's only brought connection to other people who are on the same path. It's only brought gratitude for what I do own. You know, everything that I have is sacred. Everything that I have is, it's important, and I love and I'm thankful for the things that are here because, yeah, they're the best suited to be in time for me right now. So, yeah, thanks for watching this little video and for what you're all doing on the path. And love to hear anybody's stories or their thoughts on this path of minimalism, what's worked for them. You know, the more we can hear from other people and get ideas and feel like we're not alone in making big or small changes, the easier it is for everybody else, and we can do it together. So yeah, thanks for being here. Please like and comment and journey well.